For flexibility, we did square splits, wrist extension, and shoulder flexion, so how high they can get their arms above their head. As Gina said, the square splits, we make them keep their hips in line. We don't want them turn out, so we're getting a really accurate measure of their hamstring and hip flexor flexibility. This is important for leaps, for jumps. If they don't have enough hamstring and hip extension, then they're going to probably strain a muscle or injure themselves in some way.
Because they're going to try to get there, even if they can't. And then they strain something. And then it's a problem because you have
So for wrist extension, something we noticed that Gemini has really good wrist extension. So that's how far I have really bad wrist extension. So how far they can bring their hand back. This is important for any weight-bearing skill. So if they're doing a handstand and they don't have enough wrist extension, they're going to have to get it from somewhere else. They're going to get it from their low back. They're going to get it from their shoulder. We don't want that because that's going to stress those joints in that area of the body and create issues down the line.
Three of the most popular things that kids get hurt on in Excel programs are they strain muscles, they sprain ankles, and they have wrist pain. One of the reasons why Excel has a lot of wrist pain is because a USAG gymnast is coming 6 days a week for 20 hours and their bones are so used to pounding that it's really hard to kind of overdo it. But sometimes Excel kids take some time off and they're not every day, they're every other day. Sometimes there's 3 days break and that wrist goes through, should I tolerate weight bearing? Should I not? Should I not? Should I not? And then all of a sudden they start back handsprings and they learn something new and they're not doing it 5 days in a row to harden themselves. They do it and then they take a break and the wrist just says, I don't really want to be here. So God and gravity, either of which you want to think about, will get a handstand to a 90-degree angle. Your wrist is going to be at 90. Whether you like it or not, when you're in a handstand on the ground, it has to be at 90 degrees because the floor is perpendicular to something that's vertical. If it can't get there, either it's going to crack, break, or have gymnast wrist, which is that little like stress reaction to the distal ulna, or your elbows are going to hurt or your shoulders are going to hurt. Because we want you stacked when you're straight up and down for a handstand. Okay? Gemini has super good wrist flexibility because they do not overdo handstand weight bearing conditioning. No one's making you hold a 5-minute handstand hold here, which is totally wrong. No one's making them do 700 back handsprings. But we did notice that the shoulder flexibility is not very good. I think our average is, we'll kind of go through that, but if you, as we're going through this, we can kind of go. Jump test, you can go to page 7 and we can do jump test really quick so you can see kind of as the levels go. Some of this is skewed data because they're just older when they're better, I mean on average. So sometimes just learn how to jump higher. But where their jump height is, if you go to page 8, we look at square split measures, and I'll show you what that means.
Slide 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, slide 8. I'm so sorry. Not page 8. None of you wanted a 35-page packet, so we did some small. We made it smaller. If your eyes are bad, I'm sorry, because mine are too. I've been bigger. So you know your splits. Obviously, right is much better than left because 90% of gymnasts are righties. Not 90% of humans are righties. 90% of gymnasts are righties because they do by mimicking. Kids when they're little don't know that they should be doing left versus right. Sometimes coaches don't ask and they just do right and then they learn right. So wrist extension though, right? So 75, 70 degrees is not 90. So the difference between 70 and 90 is out, right? And if you're going to get to doing a back handspring and you're not going to have 70 or 90 degrees, you're going to collapse this way because it makes your wrist not have to work. And then you're going to have back pain and shoulder pain. And you're not going to have the concept of we call verticality, you know, being vertical. A giant on bar is vertical. A handstand on floor is vertical. Back handspring is just a jump to a handstand. Right? There are only 3 things in gymnastics that happen. Your legs move, you get into a handstand, or you get into a ball. All skills in gymnastics can be related to those 3 things. The back handspring is just a jump to a handstand. Back walkover is just a bridge to a handstand, right? So handstands are really important. Shoulder flexibility and wrist. So in general, 75 and 70 degrees is not what we want, but most gyms that we assess are at 50, 55, which is really bad. And I mean, 25 out of the 30 gyms that I've done in the last years are pretty bad. This is the highest gym in wrist flexibility that we've had. Now we go to shoulders. Yeah, go ahead.
Why is like a back?
Because the older that you get, The older that you get, the more you weigh. Sometimes that gets harder on your wrists, so your wrists don't want to move as much. The older that you get, the more that you're doing, the more harder skills you're doing, the more back handsprings. One would think that it would get more flexible because you're doing more, but it actually gets tighter because you're getting stronger. So in assumption, a platinum kid is older, a platinum kid weighs more, and a platinum kid does more reps. So older means you should be smarter, but you cheap out. Older means you're heavier, so you need more strength. The more strength you have, the less flexibility you have. Kind of where it is. One can also say that the difference between a bronze and a platinum is not crazy big in Excel. And if you're older and you're platinum, it means that you missed the boat a little bit. So sometimes that skews the numbers. But there's like no data on Excel. Like nobody does research on it. So this is all from what we've done in the US, just like knowing the programs. And I think it's better than research because we just have raw data from it. I'm not nobody's funding us, right? We're just collecting numbers and giving data. Oh, that's a good question. Shoulder flexibility as kids get older, get less. Most of the time, right? And your kids sit like this and text all day. So kids when they're 12 still think it's really cool to go like this. They don't have boobs, they don't have voice, right? So they stand up straight. Then they get to be 14 and they don't want boobs and they stand like this and they text more and they get more. So posture peaks at 12 and a half. In as far as like the best posture you're going to have in your life, and it's all downhill from there unless you're a conscious adult. So most of the time, again, I'm assuming that the platinum kids are older than bronze. We didn't do it like on this graph based on age, which we can split it out and see no level, but just as you get older what the numbers are, which we can do for you guys too. Which is fun. I'm a nerd, so I like this kind of stuff. So shoulder flexibility, 170, even as low as we are, like the platinum average is 155, is still not bad. Most of our elite and 10s are at 140 to 150, and you're like, how are they doing what they're doing? So if I can only get my arm to 140, but I need to get back to do a Yurchenko, flip into USAG for a second, I can't do this to get back there. So I get it to here, and then I do this. And I'm buckling and buckling and buckling, which is one of the biggest causes of stress fractures. So we surveyed over 10,000 kids who have been at level 10 elite national team levels. And this is just spine injury data. And after the fact, we haven't done predictability studies yet, but after the fact, if you have back pain and we test your shoulder flexibility, you have bad shoulder flexibility. So one would assume that if you have bad shoulder flexibility, you are more predisposed to getting back injuries because it makes you buckle more. The super flexible kids on the way end of the spectrum have issues too because they're so flexible, they keep pushing the limits, and the coaches are like, oh, you're flexible, so we're going to choreograph everything flexible into your floor routine, which makes it bad as well. But you want 180, you want 190. Gymnastics from a closed chain perspective, vault-wise, we need like 205 to 210. So, and again, physics-wise, 90 degrees, 180. 180 is a handstand, 200 is a back handspring, 210 is a chain. You know, like so we just keep opening and opening and opening. And if you don't have that, you can't not get your hands to the beam. So that's the kids that do beam back handsprings and they're already crunched up like this and they come down because they don't have the flexibility. So you fix shoulder flexibility, which will fix wrists, which makes you vertical, which makes you not have back pain. Right, and it goes. Excel has an incredibly high incidence of low back pain. Most of it's mechanical, so it's not fractures, it's not discs, it's just it's muscles that are mad, bones that are mad because there's not as much attention to detail because there's not as much time. So sometimes little things go by the wayside because you cannot do 4 events for 45 minutes